Welcome to the Friday vlog.
Welcome to the Friday vlog.
And today we wanted to talk about kindness in communication.
Yes. Be kind to me.
We need more kindness in our communication.
We do.
So
I need more kindness from you.
Oh, and I don't need it from you. So we realized that it's obvious that we would want to be kind to each other in communication, but what happens is that we don't realize the impact of state of mind on our communication and how that can very easily impact the level of kindness toward each other without even really noticing it. And this was, I would say, highlighted recently in a conversation between you and I.
It was.
Where Angus and I were out having a lovely breakfast and we were having a conversation about something. As the conversation unfolded, at some point in the conversation, I realized that he wasn't following what we were talking about at all. And I felt that we were having a conversation that we were both engaging in. And so I was shocked when I realized that you were just going along with it without really knowing what I was talking about.
Well, yes, I was a little bit worse for wear because it was the night after a birthday dinner. I guess my state of mind probably wasn't where I would want it to be, ideally, to be having a conversation, a nice breakfast with my wife. But I was nevertheless making the effort.
Feeling a little tired?
I was feeling a little bit tired, a little bit frayed around the edges.
Oh, you woke up really early to watch soccer.
And I woke up really early
to
watch a soccer game. So I had very little sleep on top of everything else. And to be honest, I can't even remember what we were talking about.
I can't
but
either.
I do remember that there was a lot of background noise. You know, and I'm not good with background noise.
I do know that.
I have these sort of directional ear mics that kind of pick up the loudest noise. So there's a lot of clutter and restaurant noise. So I think you were a little bit enthusiastic about this point that you were making. So I couldn't quite hear. I could see the enthusiasm. I could get what I feel was the gist of the point, but nevertheless wasn't hearing it all. Probably was a little bit distracted by what was going on in the restaurant, but I nevertheless tried to thread it all together in my mind. My left hemisphere, my critical mind, is trying to weave this all together. All my little minions are trying to assemble this point that you're trying to make. So I kind of ran with it. And then I guess as the conversation evolved, I didn't know that it was going to evolve. I didn't know you were going to elaborate on this point and take a deeper dive. As soon as we got to a certain depth at that point, I realised I had run out of air. And so did you. So that was when you realised that I literally had lost the plot and probably didn't have the plot to begin with. And we're obviously a little bit upset by that.
Well, I was shocked because I thought we were having an engaged conversation. I realized that you'd just been going along with it without really knowing what I was talking about.
Yes.
So I was surprised. And then when I mentioned something about why didn't you say something or let me know that you weren't in the game with me, you said, and this is what was my wake-up call, because you said, well, you can get impatient with me when I ask you to repeat yourself, and so you didn't want to ask me that. And so for me, that was really humbling, because I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't think that I'm that way, but obviously I am that way. And I can see that, from a certain state of mind, I probably I'm not very kind to you in my communication when you're asking me to repeat myself.
Yeah, and I think that I have to hold my hands up to the fact that, I think you're entitled to be impatient on one level. And I think there was a point in this conversation, although I'm off with the pixies and thinking about something altogether different, I suddenly realised the folly of my decision to continue with this pretense. And I knew it was going to be greeted with impatience when you find out. So I can't remember what I did. I tried to sort of purposefully get the conversation to wind down, and did a very poor job at that. But to be honest, if I look from higher ground, I think that that's okay. It's like it is kind of disrespectful, or could be perceived as disrespect. But really, it was just more a case of the background clutter. I should have just asked you to repeat yourself.
That's what I was saying. Why didn't you ask me to? But then you said because you thought I'd get impatient.
It's like watching a TV show. If I haven't been paying attention and you have, and I ask you to, let's press pause for a second, can you explain what's going on? You don't like explaining what's going on because it kind of makes you a bit impatient because you're thinking, Well, he should have been watching that. Why am I the one that has to do all the work? It's that same state of mind. So there's something a little bit annoying for you, and then I get sensitive about it. But I think the sensitivity is also by the virtue of the fact that I feel guilty that I probably wasn't there in the first place doing my job of listening. But it's so to do with state of mind. I could not take that personally.
Yeah, it isn't really personal.
Yeah.
It is a reflection of state of mind. So basically what we're pointing to is how there's this pattern that shows up in our relationship where you're not listening and I get impatient when you're not listening. And you do have a very active mind and can be thinking about other things. And I guess there's certain times when my state of mind isn't in a good enough place to be patient with you around that. And there's other times where I would hope that I'm more patient.
Yeah.
But when I realized that we'd actually been having a conversation in which Angus didn't have a clue about what we were talking about because he didn't want me to be impatient, I felt badly about that. I felt like I need to show up differently in our relationship because I don't want you to pretend to have a conversation with me. I want to have a real conversation with you.
Yeah, but it was actually quite cool because it was almost like the air going out of a balloon in terms of the feeling, just like it just went south so quickly. And in the past, I would try to defend myself. I would try to do reparations, but part of that reparations is like I want to save face and kind of like present myself in a good light. So I make up some stupid excuse. So maybe partly that was a stupid excuse in terms of what I was suggesting, in terms of how I'd lost the plot in that way. Because ultimately I should have listened to you, so I did feel guilty about that. So in a sense, it's like there's an opportunity for me to be more authentic. But that, all cast aside, is that I just felt like, you know what, the feeling has gone south. I don't really need to hop on board that train. It's just one of those things. The air will come back and things will come back into a state of well-being. And don't put too much juice in it on it. And lo and behold, that probably would have gone quickly south and probably ruined our day in the past. But that was kind of all over and done with in probably 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes of a very low mood. And then neither of us, I felt, took it that seriously. We just got on with the interaction on some level. I don't feel like I gave it any weight. I would have given that enormous weight in the past. And I feel like we just got on, and within 5 minutes we were really enjoying our meal and the ambience of the restaurant. Well, that was my experience anyway. Maybe you were elsewhere.
No, I would say that that's accurate. And what I hear you saying is that in the past you would have got defensive and started to tell me why I shouldn't be upset that you weren't listening to me, why I was wrong, that I was feeling hurt. And you didn't do that. You just let me have my deflated moment where I was like, oh, I thought you were listening to me and you weren't. And oh, now I know that you don't even want to ask me to repeat myself because you feel I'm going to be impatient.
No, I feel quite proud of myself for the fact that I just allowed you to have your deflated moment. I didn't give it any meaning, and it just, the buoyancy came back and we're in a good place. I think you're exactly right. In the past, I would have wanted to sort of like defend myself. And how you would have heard that is like, oh, it's my fault. He's trying to suggest that it's all my fault. That's not how it is at all.
Well, that's what you did. You made it my fault when you said that I didn't ask you to repeat yourself because you get impatient. So I think that's when I got deflated because I felt like, oh, I didn't realize that, but actually you hadn't been listening.
Yeah. So I'm realizing now that was completely inauthentic of me to suggest that I was trying to shift the blame on you so that I could feel I could be the righteous one.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wasn't listening in a way that I could have apologized for not hearing you, or I could have asked you to repeat yourself. Mm-hmm. Instead, I create this charade.
The big mean Rohini charade.
And the big mean Rohini charade is that, rightly so. You would likely be more impatient by the fact that, that I hadn't asked you to repeat yourself and show up in a more authentic way. So I guess I was trying to sort of masquerade my embarrassment that I hadn't been listening.
Well, it's interesting because it was confusing to me that you were saying I'm impatient, And I am impatient at times, but now I'm realizing it's just a global term.
Yeah, no, I'm to be honest, this is coming to me now. It's an insight that's developing around our relationship.
What is that?
I think that I have had this very codependent streak that you're corrupting my happiness by being in a low mood. And I want to label that low mood. My ego wants to label that low mood. And my ego will label it as impatience. It could be any number of different reasons why you're upset. Well, that's how I see it. I just don't like the low mood.
Yeah.
And I particularly didn't like the low mood when we were trying to enjoy our meal yesterday.
So the irony of all of this is that when you're in that conditioning, you're trying to avoid the low mood experience. And so you're playing the charade, which is ultimately going to get us there.
Yeah.
Because it's far worse to have a conversation pretending that you know what I'm talking about than just at the beginning say, what did you say? I didn't hear you.
I know, it's kind of crazy. Yeah.
But I think we all can get ourselves into those kind of situations. And it's one of those things where, are we willing to go against our conditioning? Are we willing to be uncomfortable, to be honest and to be authentic? Because ultimately, relationships thrive with honesty and authenticity, even if there might be some discomfort involved. And so Angus, in that moment, wasn't willing to take the risk of having me not be kind to him by saying, could you repeat yourself?
You don't like to repeat yourself, as a rule.
Well, I do think that we have gone into a habit in our relationship with you not listening. I have to be more patient about the fact that you're not a good listener.
But the feeling around having to repeat yourself is kind of like this. And then the feeling of me being authentic is like this. So it is a case of, it's always the healthier turn to try and be as honest and upfront, as transparent as possible.
And I will do my best to be more patient
with an
around your listening. And it's coming forward for me in terms of recognizing our brain differences, that I have a lot of expectation that your brain is going to work the way my brain works. And I don't know why. I don't know why I have that expectation after all this time. And I just really have to understand that your brain works differently than mine.
Yeah.
And that makes it harder for you to pay attention and to listen at times, especially in a crowded restaurant.
Well, it's all a learning process, isn't it?
It is.
It's all growth and development.
And the big picture is that we had the experience of having, the balloon deflate?
Yes.
And then
reflate. Inflate.
Reinflate. In a couple of minutes. So there's resilience there.
Yeah.
And from that, there's learning. And so we hope that in your relationships, whether they're with your partner or with other friends or family, that you see the resilience that's there. And you can also see the impact of your state of mind and how kindness shows up in your ability to be with them, especially if there's neurodiversity involved in the relationship.
Yes. Important to be neurologically diverse.
Well, to embrace the diversity.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a great weekend.